This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
Well, welcome to Friday on the After Party Live, and we made it. Woohoo! So happy to have you here. I know the Mark Thompson show went long, but we've got some great things ahead on this show as we work to send you off into a great weekend, including at the movies with Tim Sika. And Tim will be along in just a couple minutes to talk movies and streaming options and his classic movie recommendation of the week. And all of that is coming up here on the After Party Live. Also looking at some other stories, and I want to jump right into at least, I don't know. I have a feeling Tim's going to pop in any minute. So let's go to the chat, see what you guys have to say. Greetings, hello. Oh, Mama, I got your really nice message. Mama sent me an email last night to thank me for slipping a couple of kids trivia questions into the mix yesterday, and she said her son was playing along. So that makes me really happy, and I love to foster some love of trivia for the upcoming generation. So that's very cool. Well, if I know that you're going to do that, you'd send me an email, and I'll pop a couple of kid questions in at the end or at the beginning, just for your kids, so they have they can enjoy the show as well. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you guys for being here. Pineapple on pizza or hamburgers? Phineas, the answer is both. Pineapple on pizza and pineapple on hamburgers, always, I think. Right? I know it's controversial, but I'm going to put pineapple on everything. Everything. My daughter is in Germany, and she just got there yesterday. Today, she had a what's it called? Kind of a session with it's music stuff. See, so this is not my forte. You'd think I'd be better at it by now. She said, we're on our way to a church for a master class with the concert master of the Berlin Philharmonic. So this is really cool. She's there with the Santa Rosa Youth Symphony. And today she's really excited because she gets to learn a lot from the concert master of the Berlin Phil. She's been sending me some great pictures. So perhaps we'll go to Berlin for Travel Tuesday next week. But my point is, in mentioning it, Phineas, she said she was shocked at how good the pineapple was at the hotel breakfast. So they've got some great pineapple in Berlin. Who knew? Who knew that would be the case? All right, it is time, and it's one of my favorite times of the whole week. Time for At the Movies with Tim Sika. Here he comes.
Hi, Kim.
Hi.
My God, with the concert master of the Berlin Philharmonic. Are you kidding me? I mean, that is like the big league. That
Isn't
is like,
it?
you can't get any higher than that.
She's super excited. And then they had an event where they get to go see the Berlin Philharmonic. And then
one of the great orchestras, one of the world's great orchestras. Yeah. Wow.
And then she's performing at 4 different venues around Germany and one in Amsterdam as well.
Amazing.
So
that is
really
so awesome.
fun. Yeah. She had a lot of the kids, they had to rent their instruments when they got to Germany, so they didn't have to lug them all the way, on the plane and everything.
Yeah.
But you can't rent her instrument. Apparently it's difficult. So she had to drag her bassoon all the way to Germany, but that's cool. You would think in Germany, which is, I think, where the bassoon came from, there would be bassoon rentals galore, but no, she had to take hers.
Yeah, apparently not. Yeah. Well, at least a bassoon is not like, like a cello or something,
it's true.
You can, it's easy to carry. Yeah. Right. Yeah,
that's true. So that's exciting. And she's there for 11 days, and she just got there yesterday. So I'm getting pictures overnight. When I wake up in the morning, there's this, cache of pictures because of the time difference. So it's kind of fun.
That's so awesome. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So what do you got, my friend?
Well, what are we going to talk about? You mean movie-wise this week? Well, I guess we should start with F1.
F1. Speaking of my daughter, for some reason, she has become a huge fan of F1 racing. She claims it's because the drivers are, quote, hot. So there you go.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, well, there is a connection with that statement here with this movie because Brad Pitt is in this movie.
Oh,
It's
well, there you
his
go.
starring vehicle. Yes, Brad. Oh my God. Okay, F1 stands for, yeah, you said it, Formula One, as in high speed racing, right? And this is Brad Pitt's. This is Brad Pitt's Top Gun Maverick movie, but except it's on the racetrack. And in actual fact, it's been directed by the same guy that directed Top Gun Maverick. His name is Joseph Kosinski. But there the comparison ends. I think I'm going to be very unpopular in what I'm about to say, but okay. So in F1, Brad Pitt plays this once famous and successful, albeit controversial, aka reckless, high-speed race car driver who, in the 1990s, he was at the peak of his popularity, but he was in a crash, and so he had to retire. And then so he became a taxi cab driver, to make ends meet, and also who, when the movie begins, oh God, is coaxed out of retirement by a Formula One team owner and a friend of his, played by Javier Bardem, to mentor this rookie race car hotshot who reminds this Formula One team owner of the Brad Pitt character when he was at the top of his game. And so already we have what is probably the biggest race car movie cliche of all time, and that's just the beginning. This movie is so rife with movie cliches that after 30 minutes, really, you have to do everything within your power to suppress the gag reflex.
Oh no!
And there's no beating around the bush here. I thought this was a terrible film with nothing but endless rehashes of things we've seen countless times before in much better movies about high-speed racing. The movie looks and plays like it was written by AI. I mean, the script is a borderline abomination of, you name it, speechifying that is borderline camp, race car sequences that look like they were shot with green screen, those same racing sequences that are endless and repetitive. The entire movie is nothing but one race, the same one, repeated over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, something like 8 times. And the acting, I never thought I would live to say something like this, but to call it bad is really to call out the emperor with no clothes. I want to say it's subpar, but that gives it a status that it doesn't really deserve. Brad Pitt, who is he's a great actor and a stellar movie star, to me was self-consciously awkward, affected, falling back on these actorly tics and quirks and subtly histrionic bits of whatever he thinks he was doing to create this character. And Javier Bardem, he acts as if he knows these lines he's forced to recite are bad, but in the end can't really get around them. So he's trying to make the best of them. He never once made me believe that he believed in what he was saying. And so he, more than Pitt, for the most part, throughout the entire film, acts and stands around just looking embarrassed. Okay, I want to be fair here. As fair as is humanly possible with a movie like this, it's probably not as bad as I'm claiming it to be. It's just that from my perspective and in context of every other race car movie that I've ever seen, and I've pretty much seen all of them, I have no other choice but to rate it on the side of awful, because there's absolutely nothing new in it. It shamelessly borrows from every other race car movie ever made. And so in my opinion, it's rendered itself utterly useless and completely superfluous. For me, it was torture watching this movie. I found it tedious, shockingly cliched, torturous, repetitive, and endless. It was 2 hours and 35 minutes long. And, Kim, another interesting bit here, I always think, oh God, well, maybe this is me, it's got to be me, because I don't think my disdain for this movie is just me, though. And that's based, I happened to see it at an early preview with a packed audience who laughed once at an admittedly amusing moment in the film, but otherwise were completely non-reactive through the whole movie. And this movie was designed to get your juices up, but they failed even to applaud at the end, which is very unusual at these free screenings. Audiences generally love to ovate, even when the movie is bad, because they've just seen a free movie. But there was nothing here. It's like the audience they seemed dazed. And so I thought, well, maybe it's not just me, though it was possible that the psychic daggers I was hurling at the screen were being picked up by, by the people around me. But, and then you go on to an aggregator site like Rotten Tomatoes, and the film is being overwhelmingly praised by critics. I don't get it, other than to say,
What?
such is the power of studio hype. I think critics,
Uh,
yeah, anyway, that's another conversation. Anyway, I really hated this movie. I thought it would never end. It insulted my intelligence. It insulted my knowledge of film in general. And even the ending, which was upbeat, went on for something like 10 minutes. It's like, cut already. I mean, what? Yeah. Anyway, let's not dwell in the ditch here.
I think that people go to see this movie, a movie like this.
Yeah, I know what you're gonna say.
And they want to see, they want to
Uh-huh.
see Brad Pitt's dimples, but they also want to see really good race car. They want to see the racing. They want to see the images of that. And so when you're telling me that it looks like it was done on a green screen or that
Yeah,
AI did
yeah,
it,
yeah.
then because you could forgive maybe a bad plot, a bad story if it's good cars chases or good racing scenes or whatever. But
Yeah.
almost like a ski movie where you go to see it because you want to see that extreme sports of it all. But if
Right.
even that part of it sucks, then what is left? Nothing.
Well, I would like to tell people listening and watching right now, if they want to see a movie that has breathtaking race car sequences, there was a movie that came out in 1966. It was called Grand Prix.
Mhm.
And that movie, literally, they put a 70 millimeter camera on these high-speed race cars, and the footage. See, I'm spoiled. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
spoiled. The footage in that movie's worth seeing for the race car footage alone, because it just takes your breath away. It puts you literally in the driver's seat. In fact, the movie was shot with 3 separate cameras in a Cinerama presentation to give you the feeling that you were actually in the car. But you don't even need any of that stuff. I mean, you can watch it on the small screen and you can still get caught up in it. Anyway, so I recommend Grand Prix, 1966, John Frankenheimer, James Garner, Eva Marie Saint. Watch that movie if you want to see a really, 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 really superb film about race car driving. But skip F1. It's awful. It's awful.
What was the Tom Cruise race car movie with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman? Then they did
Days of Thunder. Yeah.
that was a good movie.
And that's the thing. That was a hokey movie,
Mhm.
but it kind of knew it was hokey,
Yeah.
and it wasn't pretentious like this.
Yeah.
And I think Days of Thunder, for all its hokiness and silliness, was a good movie, was an entertaining movie, didn't insult your intelligence. This, oh my God,
Oh, poor Brad. I
poor
feel bad.
Brad. I mean, I'm a
Yeah.
fan. I never ever thought
Yeah.
ever say that Brad Pitt gave a bad performance. And maybe it isn't bad. To me, it's just he does this thing with his voice and he's doing this weird thing. And it's like, what? No. What's next? What's the next movie?
What a bummer.
Yeah.
Our next movie for you, I know I'll be seeing this. They already have the making of on
really?
Disney Plus. It's like a 5-minute long thing. And so
Okay.
the hype is here for Elio.
Yeah, Elio. Okay.
Elio.
All right. Okay. I'm going to sound like a real Grinch this week, but this is not the best movie either, sad to say, but at least it's not as bad as F1. Okay. This is Pixar's latest, and it's about a little boy, I think a 10, 11, 12-year-old little boy who wants to be abducted by aliens, right? That's pretty much the movie in a nutshell, and it's a promising premise. Unfortunately, the movie's pretty much an overstuffed mess. It's a collection of some really good ideas. Well, I mean, I'm criticizing it here because, well, yeah, it's a collection of some good ideas that, unfortunately, for me, never really gelled or they came together, or are presented in the way that distinguishes Pixar from, say, the other animated movies from big studios like DreamWorks or Sony. In other words, it's probably the least Pixar-y movie ever made, almost completely absent of that code-cracking magic, which has for years distinguished Pixar from everybody else making animated films. And it fails, how can I say this? it's not bad, but it fails to track to and engage in the way that the best Pixar movies are known to be successful at doing, and
Mhm.
making you feel. The thing about Pixar movies is by the time they're over, you feel differently, and you
Yeah.
also feel empathy for the characters. And but when you add everything up with this movie, it's just basic by the numbers stuff that plays, like I said, more like a DreamWorks or a Sony animated feature
Mhm.
than as a Pixar movie. And it's forgettable. It's like vapor. It's busy, it's colorful, taken as a whole, and not really comparing it, I guess, to anything else. It's probably not all that bad, but it's not especially good either. And it certainly ain't Pixar. I would say to people who are Pixar fans, I would say skip it. I suppose if you're looking to take your kids to something like the opposite of what we're going to talk about next, zombies,
Yeah.
Leo would more than suffice. It's innocuous,
Yeah.
and it is positive, and it does say something important to kids about self-esteem. It just, as a whole, it just didn't quite register for me, and maybe I needed to just get the fact that it was a Pixar movie out of my mind but I was waiting for
Well,
those Pixar moments, and unfortunately they never came.
I think that you're right. I think there's an expectation when you go to a Pixar movie that it's got that little extra, right? And so
Yeah,
if that's not here, then what a disappointment. But on the other hand, it then just becomes a regular old kids movie, and there's still
yeah,
not that
yeah,
many of them out there during the summer, and so it'll
yeah.
probably do well anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and you always want,
Mhm.
the movies to do well, because it's good
Yeah.
for everybody, it's good for the business. But a friend of mine who used to work for Disney, she had private messaged me the other day, and she said, "Well, how was it?" And I said, I said, don't shoot the
Mhm.
messenger." So I told her pretty much what I told you,
Mhm.
and she said she wasn't surprised, because she said, I guess there were some like inner turmoil at Pixar.
Oh.
And if that's true, I don't know. Maybe that's why this movie is. It seems like a lot of cooks were involved too, but
Mhm.
I don't know. Where were the Pixar people? I don't know. I just. It's okay. It's all right, but I say skip it.
Was it that you recommended and we watched the series the baseball
Oh
series?
yeah, the baseball series, that was good.
Mhm, that was really good. Wasn't that a Pixar thing as well?
That was a Pixar thing, but that
Yeah,
felt like a Pixar thing. It played
it
like a
did.
Pixar thing, and it really,
Totally.
yeah, and it gave you those warm and fuzzies
Yeah,
that only Pixar knows how to do without making you feel like you're being
yeah.
like falsely manipulated. I
Mhm.
love Pixar. This is like one of the few that I don't know. Hopefully they'll get their act together if there is some inner turmoil in the company, and
That
maybe do right the next time. I don't
that,
know.
baseball series from Pixar, by the way, called Win or Lose.
Win or lose, yeah. You
Mhm.
know what? And last time you brought it up, I couldn't remember the title
Yeah,
either.
it's so good,
Yeah,
so good.
yeah, it is. It's
Alright,
great.
here we go. Now this is gonna shock you. But I actually saw the first movie of this,
Ah,
28
yeah,
Days,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
still remember it and am
yeah,
just disturbed by it, and now here we go
yeah,
again with 28 years later.
yeah. This next one, yeah. Well, this movie did register for me. It's another post-apocalyptic horror film. Kim, I think filmmakers through their art these days are on some level anyway. They seem to be willing the end times to manifest through their art. I mean, I'm seeing so many movies, but that's another conversation. But yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
so this is a zombie horror film, and the third in the 28 Days Later film franchise,
Mhm,
directed by Danny Boyle, and screenwriter Alex Garland wrote the screenplay. They wrote the first one, the one that you said you just saw. They returned to this franchise 23 years later. They directed and penned respectively the first in the series,
mhm,
2002's 28 Days Later. And this one's about humans infected with what is called in the movie the rage virus. And when infected, these humans turn into these screaming zombie-like crazies who become like zombie vampires wanting to infect everybody with an earshot around them. And these
mhm.
creatures, these infected creatures who were once human, for anybody considering seeing this film, they are very unsavourily and stylistically depicted here, and really stuff out of your worst nightmares. So
Yeah.
just sharing that. Anyway, in the midst of all these infected humans and in this dystopian atmosphere, which is also very vividly and disturbingly evoked in the film, I mean, masterfully, the plot focuses on this 12-year-old boy and his mother, who are in pursuit of this doctor played by Rafe Fiennes, who is a survivor of the rage virus. There's a whole history that they go into about that. That it was sort of contained, and then it manifested in the Scottish Highlands, and then it was contained, but then it spread to Britain. Anyway, this little boy and his mother are trying to locate this doctor in the hopes that this doctor will be able to cure the boy's mother, who's not infected by these creatures, but seems to be suffering from something that they don't know, something else, which we soon find out. So, this is a very good movie. I think it elevates the franchise to a level of art. As a horror film, it sufficiently delivers. I mean, there's lots of gross creatures flaying about, lots of blood, lots of guts, lots of kills, but also just as a film, it resonates in ways that most horror films don't. For me, everything in the film, and it's never boring, by the way, leads up to this scene where the 12-year-old boy is told by the doctor, played by Ralph Fiennes, just what's up with his mother. And it's this marvelously poetic vignette that comments upon, well, it literally elevates everything that has come before, but it makes a powerful statement, this scene, it's a vignette. I'd say it's about a 10, 15-minute scene, makes a powerful statement about living and dying, the impermanence of life, and arguably the meaning behind existence. It's a deeply spiritual moment too, uncharacteristically coming out of a genre not known for such scenes or such moments. So for that scene alone, in addition to the fact that it's just a rattling good scare, this movie, I recommend this movie. I was surprised. I think it's the best of the three. And if the ending means anything, we will not be surprised if there's yet another installment in this zombie horror franchise soon to be arriving at a local movie theater. They obviously have great confidence in this because the movie ends with almost like a beginning of another chapter. So anyway,
Okay.
I was impressed with this. I thought
All
it was
right.
quite good. Yeah.
Next is your classic movie recommendation of the week.
Yes. So the
Recommendation,
Asian
yeah.
of the week, is The Apartment.
There you
Yes,
go.
from 1960, a classic comedy, a classic romantic comedy drama. Very acerbic, very witty, very dark romantic comedy drama that even involves a suicide attempt by the lead female character played by Shirley MacLaine. Anyway, The Apartment, The Apartment came out in 1960, and it's about an insurance clerk played by Jack Lemmon, who, in the hopes of climbing the corporate ladder, he lends his Upper West Side New York apartment to his superiors so that they can conduct their extramarital affairs there. Right? Very risque, very controversial stuff for 1960 America when the film was released. And it's one of those films you can watch again and again and still derive enormous pleasure from. And I'm gonna try to remember something that I can support that with. But first of all, the cast is expert. Jack Lemmon in that picture there, Shirley MacLaine, and Fred McMurray, who plays a real scumbag guy. It's everything you would want from a movie made by film folk who were all at the top of their game in 1960. It's considered and has come to be regarded as one of the greatest films ever made. It won the top 3 Oscars in 1960, Best Picture and Director and Screenplay. Lemmon and MacLaine were nominated. They give great performances. I remember watching something once on TCM, Kim. The program was called The Essentials. I think they still run The Essentials on TCM. But the installment I saw, it featured Robert Osborne, who was the TCM spokesperson at the time. He was subsequently replaced by Ben Mankiewicz because he passed away. But on The Essentials version segment that I saw, Robert Osborne hosted celebrities talking about movies that the celebrities saw as essential viewing for anybody serious about movies. And one time he had on Rose McGowan on the program, and one of her essential movies was this one, The Apartment. And she said something that always stuck with me, and I think epitomizes why this movie is so beloved and considered so great. She said, and I'm paraphrasing, she said that The Apartment was a movie that you could watch if you were depressed or in a really great move. And no matter what mood you were in, you were able to track with the film, meaning that the film would somehow feel right and track with whatever mood you happened to be in when you were
Yeah.
watching it. And it works. It somehow aligns with whatever emotional space you find yourself in. And I thought that was a great insight, because I've seen this movie, yeah, in both those states, but it works. It works in these amazing ways. Anyway, it's a great movie. It's an adult movie. It's a very smart and sophisticated movie. Yeah, anybody listening or watching that hasn't seen it, they should check it out. And I did not wait. I have my computer up here. I want to see if it's where I think it is, so
I have
people
not.
can
I have not
stream
seen
it.
this one, but I'm interested in this, and I love Shirley MacLaine, and look how young she looks here. She's so beautiful.
If
Wow.
you love Shirley MacLaine, I
Mhm.
mean, you'll love her in this movie. She's amazing. Oh yeah, it's okay. Yes, it's streaming on Pluto and Tubi.
Okay, free
So
streaming.
yeah, so
Yeah.
it's oh god, it's a great movie. It's a great movie. And it was subsequently it became a hit Broadway musical. I think in late '60s, early '70s, called Promises,
Mhm.
Promises. It was a big hit song by Warwick, and there were a number of songs that were popular from it. And it had a different feel to it because it was a musical. I don't think it had
The
the
movie's not a musical, right?
no, the movie's
Okay.
it's a yeah, it's a romantic comedy, but it's much more than that. It's more like a dark drama. It's funny. It's just amazing. It's Billy Wilder at
Mhm.
his greatest as a filmmaker. Yeah, and Shirley MacLaine. Oh God, breaks your heart in this movie.
Oh, wow. The Apartment. Okay, we'll do our recap. Sadly, F1. It's cliche heavy, you said. It's rehashing
Yeah.
old themes. It's a horrible script. It's bad race car sequences, which is kind of like the nail in the coffin. Bad acting, even from Brad Pitt, who's
Oh,
awkward. You said,
oh.
not only is this bad, it's torturous, and you say, skip it. Don't even bother.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. You should say, tell us what you really think, Tim. Yeah.
Elio or Elio, you said this is not the best movie from Pixar. It's an overstuffed mess. Good ideas that never come together. No Pixar magic here. Never gets to the big feelings that usually Pixar brings. You called it forgettable. It's not bad, but it's not good, and you just go ahead and skip it. Uh,
Mm.
but it did have a good message about self-esteem, so we will
Yeah, it
give it
did.
that.
Yeah, for kids. Yeah, for sure.
28 years later, we're still talking about the rage virus, and you say this movie resonates with in ways that most horror films don't. And you said it's a rattling good scare. It's the best of the three of these movies, and you think there might be another one coming. You recommend 28 years later, and this again, it's
Yes.
a horror movie, but you really liked it.
Yeah.
You don't always
Yeah.
like horror movies, but you liked this one.
Yeah. Yeah. I did. Yeah.
The Apartment is your classic movie rec of the week from 1960, and you said this is one of the movies that the actors say, this is, if you care about movies, this is the one that you will see. It's a rom-com, but it's grown up for adult movies. You loved the acting in this. You said yes, it's The Apartment, and it's streaming free on, did you say Tubi and Pluto?
Yes. Tubi and
Mhm.
Pluto. Yep.
There you go. And
Yeah. Oh,
there we have it.
we
Before we
did it
let you,
again. Yeah.
you did it again. And before we let you go, I did have some comments to share with you.
Oh.
Regarding racing, Mars says Ford v Ferrari was good.
Oh yeah.
That one.
That was a recent one that
Mhm.
was quite good. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And Phineas said, I like Le Mans with Steve
Oh
McQueen
yeah. Le
and
Mans.
Bullet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Le Mans came on the heels of the
Mhm.
other movie that I mentioned called Grand Prix.
Mhm.
That was like because Steve McQueen wanted to make a racing movie after James Garner made a racing movie. So yeah, Le Mans is terrific too. You have yes. You see,
Noah
your audience has
Fidian.
good
I
taste.
know. Noah
Yeah.
Fidian says, has Tim ever seen RIPD? I don't know what that means.
I don't either. No,
Okay.
I apparently not, unless that's
Alright.
an acronym for something. I
Rest
don't
in
know.
peace, dude. I don't know. I'm not sure. And you recommended this, and we watched it too and loved it. Mama Más o menos says we watched Wild Robot last week and loved it. My kids watched it
Yeah.
twice already.
Oh
It's
yeah, it's a wonderful film.
it's
Yeah.
one of Jacob's favorites. So
Yeah, it's a wonderful
yeah,
film. Yeah. Yeah, I think it
awesome.
won didn't it win the Oscar this year? I think it did. No. Yes.
I
No.
don't know.
I know it was up for for best animated movie, but yeah, it's a wonderful film. Anyway, yes. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim. At the
Okay.
movies with Tim Sika. You did it again, and we love you. Have a great
Oh,
weekend,
thanks,
Tim.
Kim. You have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
At the movies with Tim Sika. I'm so lucky he comes on with me every Friday. He's so awesome. Thank you guys for participating in that movie discussion. Yeah, there's a lot of really good racing movies out there, and watch any of them and just not F1. Apparently, is how we're going to proceed with that. Let's jump back into some of these stories. Did you see this video? This is crazy, where a dog has taken being territorial and protecting the home to a new level as a bear breaks into the house. The dog stands up to the bear. Check it out. There's the picture where you can see the dog is nose to nose with this animal. Whoa. And I guess it worked out all right because the dog is okay. This happened in Southern California. The dog's name is Doodle. This dog, incredibly courageous. And I have some video that goes along with this as well. And here is what that whole encounter looked like. I'll take the picture down and bring the video up. And here it is. Doodle. Doodle's like, nope, not coming into my house. Doodle does not run away. Okay. Takes a step back. Oh, and in comes the bear. Yeah, Doodle gave it a good try though. Yeah. There have been more bear sightings in Southern California recently. There it is. Doodle trying to make it work. But again, eventually the bear left and everything was okay. Here's a story about these papers from Turing, and they almost got stuck in the shredder, but someone saved them, and now they've been auctioned off. Alan Turing's papers just sold for $627,000. It's an archive said to contextualize what one of the most brilliant thinkers put together as far as his work. This is papers that were kind of forgotten that were written by the famed World War II codebreaker Alan Turing. They say that these papers almost never came to light because of a paper shredder. Yeah, that they almost got zapped. Somehow they were saved, and they just sold at an auction at this record-setting price of $627,000. You may remember Turing for his work cracking Nazi Germany's Enigma communications machine, right? Um, really, really important work. But he was gay, and I believe that he was gay, right? Yeah, and he was uh the victim of a lot of bigotry because of that. He was convicted in the UK of homosexuality. Apparently, it was illegal at that time. And he had to be chemically castrated, and he did not survive that mental health wise. Uh, there has been an effort to restore his name over the years. And the UK, the British government, formally apologized 60 years after he died. And he got a pardon from Queen Elizabeth II in 2013. They even put his face on the new money, the $50 or the £50 note in the UK. And a lot of his personal effects are now in archives. The most recent trove that was auctioned off is related to the theorist Norman Routledge. This is a um, lifelong friendship the two had, and they shared personal correspondence and academic paper drafts and off prints, gifted between academics, apparently. The Routledge collection expanded because of Turing's mother, who sent even more of his items to her after he passed away. And there it sat for quite some time. He even had a signed personal copy of Turing's 1938 PhD dissertation, which introduced Turing's proof and the idea of a universal computing machine. The folks that found it, because it was relocated to Routledge's sister's house and stayed there for about a decade, finally his nieces and nephews had to clear out this house in London. And so they were trying to figure out what they should send to the shredder and what they shouldn't send. And they found a bunch of papers with the name A.M. Turing. And they knew that their uncle was friends with Alan Turing. And so they decided to see what the experts thought about their finds. They packed the papers away and took them to rare books auctions. And the folks at Rare Books said nothing could have prepared them for what they were about to find in this carrier bag. These seemingly plain papers, perfectly preserved in the muted colors of their unadorned academic wrappers, represent the foundations of computer science and modern digital computing. The man that was looking at the papers to see how much they're worth, his name is Jim Spencer. He tells Popular Science, "In my heart, I knew it was the most important collection I'd ever handled, so I gave it my all." He lost sleep before the auction over worries that the interest and the bids wouldn't materialize, and he was so happy to be proven wrong. They thought maybe this would go for 50 to 80,000, and one of the lots went for 279,000 alone. The collection sold for 5 times the initial estimates. So, one of the things they're happy about is they say that it's doing justice in a way to the people involved with Alan Turing, his mother, Norman Routledge, his friend. The human drama behind these papers captivating, and they were trying to put a spotlight on the lives of everyone involved here. So, pretty good. Glad to see that people have respect for something like that. I have a picture of this. This is a surprise. This is a marlin. You can see it here on the deck of this boat. I know, sad to see a beautiful, majestic fish like that, but this is a 594-pound marlin, and it was caught at a tournament. Um, and then what they found inside of the fish, pretty surprising for researchers. This is a fish that was tagged, was inside of the marlin, a 22-inch yellowfin tuna tagged off the coast of Louisiana in May, and then captured just a few weeks later, but not in the way that they had ever imagined. The fish was inside the tummy of this blue marlin, which was caught during the Cajun Canyons Billfish Classic, May 27th through June 1st. The marlin weighed 594 pounds. They say this is the first time they have documented a recapture of a tagged fish from inside of another fish. And it gives them the opportunity to learn. The tuna was in pretty raggedy shape because it was partially digested. It was retrieved from the marlin by a science team from the University of Southern Mississippi's Gulf Coast Research Lab. They tag and recapture so that they can monitor the movements of sports fish off the Gulf Coast. They say moments like this remind us that every tag tells a story, and sometimes the stories are more amazing than they could ever imagine. So, never know what you're going to find inside, apparently. Come on. Uh, how about this story? Here's one. I know I'm getting too late. I'm sorry, you guys, but let me do one more. How about this? And I know I'm always heavy on the Viking graves, but I just can't help myself because we have a Viking grave found with a connection to King Bluetooth. I know. I don't know if he's in there. Here's a picture. I have the Bluetooth grave, or with a connection to the Bluetooth grave. Here's what it looks like. Here's what they found. Look at that. Construction workers found this. They were digging about 4 miles north of Aarhus, Denmark, and came upon this by accident. They call it a spectacular Viking grave site dating back to the second half of the 10th century. And they think that it could even be tied directly to one of Denmark's most famous rulers, King Harald, also called Bluetooth Gormson. And yes, that's why we call Bluetooth technology Bluetooth. They found 30 graves here, and they were full of artifacts and treasures representing the hierarchy of the Viking era. A gold thread box, pearls, coins, ceramics, a pair of scissors, likely owned by an important noblewoman of the time. The gold threaded box, they say, is a remarkable find. They think it's the only the third confirmed example. They did find human remains like bones and teeth at the site, and some smaller, less ornate graves that possibly held enslaved workers that maybe were connected to this family. But altogether, the grave site here paints a picture of this environment that was linked to royal power, part of the Vikings' dynamic world, they say. They're speculating this burial site is related to a nobleman's farm located less than just about a half mile away, discovered in the 1980s, that may have belonged to an earl or steward of King Harald Bluetooth. The son of King Gorm the Old, Harald ruled over Denmark and Norway from around 958 986 CE, allegedly earning his name from a tooth in his mouth that was a little off color. He is also remembered for spreading Christianity across Denmark and consolidating power all over the regions in this area. The influence of King Bluetooth is symbolized in the gelling stone, which is a large rune stone that was put up by that king in 965 CE to commemorate his parents and to list all of his accomplishments. A lot of people call it Denmark's birth certificate, but it indicates, according to archaeologists, that Bluetooth actually probably didn't introduce Christianity there as much as he did formalize its recognition and cement it that way. So, but he's a big deal in Scandinavian history. The gelling stone, um, there's apparently the gelling stone we just talked about, uh, and other relics that were excavated at this burial site, which they should be done excavating this month, will then are undergoing detailed analysis so that archaeologists can look more into this. So connected to King Harold or King Bluetooth, probably. We don't know, but I'll say, yeah, very likely, right? So many stories I didn't get to today. Next week, we'll talk about how these bans on plastic bags actually seem to be working. And we'll talk about something found at Diamond Dawn's RV park, an amazing find you would never think that someone in Texas would pull out of the dirt. Okay, so that's our story. That's our show for the day, and I'm going to the chat, see what you guys are talking about in here. I'm the story queen. Yeah, DNA testing. I don't know how you would have DNA from the original King Harold, right? Unless you could somehow trace current ancestors back to the old. It would be interesting to see what the analysis of the bone fragment showed. Absolutely. Who are these people? Who are they traced to? Oh, I love it. That's an interesting question. When were scissors invented? Let's find out. Google it. Were scissors invented? I don't know. God, can you imagine living a life without scissors? I use them so often. Scissors date back to around 1500 BC, with early versions created by the ancient Egyptians. The modern design, featuring a pivot, was developed by Romans around 100 AD. There you have it. Thank you for the question. Asked and answered. Don't it? Okay. Do want to thank the folks that have contributed to help keep this show rolling. Wes today throwing in $5. Thank you, Wes. He did it via PayPal, which is really lovely because it takes less of a cut than YouTube, but we always take the super chats and super stickers here as well. So thank you for all the ways you contribute. Thank you, Wes, for the 5 today. Got a recurring payment via PayPal. Amy P just set it up once a month. Boom, $5. That's it. Meredith D did the same thing for 30. Thank you so much, James S as well. You guys keep this show going, and I am so appreciative. I hope that you have a really good weekend. I will see you back here on Monday. The Mark Thompson Show features Gary Dietrich on Monday. So we'll be talking politics, and we'll be paying attention over the weekend to what happens. But I hope that you make it the very best weekend, and I'll see you back here on YouTube. If you have any suggestions for where we should go on Monday with the caves, or Tuesday with the Travel Tuesday, or the waterfalls for Wednesday, please email me. It's kim@theafterparty.live. And I don't say it enough, but please click the like button. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to this show as well. And thank you so much. Mars just throws in 5 for today. Woo, says Mars. Thank you for the contribution. Much appreciated. Do want to mention on the way out that for the next at least 3 weeks, the Nikki Maduro Show is pre-recorded. It's all fresh content. At one point, we have Julia and Marley join us. So pretty fun. And again, all fresh content. I really hope that you will tune in Thursdays at 5 p.m. for the Nikki Maduro Show. Nikki is on vacation, headed across the United States, but the shows continue. All right. Have a great rest of your day, and have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.
Huge thank you to Luis coming in with 5. Thank you so much, you guys. You're awesome. Thanks, Luis. Thanks, Mars. Thanks, everybody. Bok, bok. Thanks, Debbie.